Hello and welcome to the Attorney Post, where we bring you the inside baseball scoop from top legal experts across the country. I'm your host, Justin West. Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Attorney Post, where we discuss what's going on in various facets of the law with lawyers at the top of their game to help you navigate the ins and outs of the various legal fields and jurisdictions. Because, as always, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. Today, I'm joined with Karen Callejo, and she is an injury attorney practicing down in Miami-Dade, and we'll be talking with her in a few minutes. As always, before we get started, let's jump over and see. Now, I do have to say, her website is currently in the process of being built, so I will put a link down below. You guys will be able to see it in its full when you click on it in the description below. It should be up shortly, but it's not fully up right now, but it will be Callejo Law injurylawyers.com. That's CALLEJOLAW injurylawyers.com. Again, link in the description below. She also does have an Instagram and a LinkedIn profile, so you guys are welcome to find her on those as well. It's a great way to connect with her. Before we get started, as always, I'm going to read from one of our sponsors. Our first sponsor today is Groove Funnels. If you love spending $5,000 building a new website and you want monthly hosting of $79 in order to have a platform that lets you sell products to your potential clients and customers, then by all means, keep doing whatever it is you're doing. But if you're like me, you hate that stuff. And that's why I personally recommend Groove Pages, the all-new all-in-one website funnel and sales platform from internet marketing legend Mike Filsaime. Visit theattorneypost.com/groove to sign up for free and build a complete site at no cost. Really, no cost. In fact, you can build up to 3 full websites, sell an unlimited number of products, and attract affiliates who sell your products, all without any fees. It really is the last online sales system you're ever going to need. It basically replaces all of these different web apps that people use, from ClickFunnels to Kajabi and Vimeo to EverWebinar, Shopify, and more. It really is kind of a Swiss Army knife. And again, it is completely free to set up 3 websites, sell limited products, and attract affiliates. Some of the other things, obviously, there's a pay to upgrade for some of the stuff that they do add on there, but the base is completely free and absolutely just a very cool offer. So again, go to theattorneypost.com/groove to sign up today, completely free with Groove Funnels. So, all right. Well, Karen, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Justin, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. So Karen has her JD from Nova Southeastern University in Florida. She also has a BA in English. We'll dig into that a little bit later. She spent over a decade serving as the assistant city attorney for the city of Hialeah, and she's also worked with a number of firms helping with immigration law, asylum law, and more. But she now runs a solo practice focusing on personal injury law. She does all sorts of cases, including car accidents, truck accidents, motorcycle accidents, slip and fall accidents, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, and more. She's based in Miami, but her firm does represent clients all throughout the state of Florida. So first question first, Karen, what did I miss?
That's a pretty good description. I've actually done a lot. There are a couple of other things I did along the way. I also worked for Department of Children and Families for a little bit, state of Florida. But you pretty much touched upon it. And right before I started my practice, my personal injury practice, I also do workers' compensation. I was doing insurance defense. So I did that for almost 3 years. That was right before opening my own practice. And that's pretty much it. I also did, I was also a traffic hearing officer for a little while, for about 3 years. And I've done a little bit of everything. I'm a little bit of a hodgepodge there. And also recently was appointed to be a Broward County hearing officer as well. So I'll be hearing those cases if you have like an unsafe structure, you did something without a permit, or had a rooster that you weren't supposed to have in your backyard, and those kinds of cases that come up. That's for Broward County. County just to the north of Miami-Dade County.
Gotcha. Very good. So you're kind of a Jill of all trades then, if you will, or at least of many skills.
Yeah, I don't like to say that, because they say, jack of all trades, master of none. And I like to believe I master at least one area or I'm at least pretty decent at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because I get bored kind of easily. I think it could either be a drawback or it could be a strength. I think it's a little bit of both. I just get bored doing the same thing over and over, and I think that's why I've switched different practice areas.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I think that's the beauty of being a lawyer. You can do
Yeah.
so many different things, so many different fields. It's actually a very, very diverse and interesting field.
Gotcha. No, I agree with that 100%. Socrates says be a generalist in all things. And I think there's a real value in having a general field. And I think a lot of people say, Matt, jack of all trades, master of none, as if they're mutually exclusive options. I think you can be a specialist and still have a lot of skills of a generalist. It's not like we all only know one thing and nothing else that we can ever focus on. So I get that. So let me ask you this first off. Can you give us a short pitch for your firm? Tell us who it is you serve. Obviously, we understand injury law a little bit, but who your ideal clients are, who comes to see you, etc.
Sure. So Callejo Law Injury Lawyers, as I stated before, so I do have that background in insurance defense. I think that is something pretty unique. I'm not the only lawyer who did insurance defense and got tired of the billable hours and the drudgery of having to write all those reports and switched over to plaintiff's PI, but we are a pretty small percentage of lawyers doing PI. Most PI lawyers, at least down here in Miami, pretty much they started doing it and that's what they've done.
Yeah.
So to have the background in insurance defense, I think gives us an edge. It's not so much about knowing the law and knowing the medicine and just having that rapport with opposing counsel and knowing the judges and everything else to try and get the best the best result for your client, but it's also about knowing the industry, how they operate. And working in insurance defense really was an eye opener for me and how they operate. And, what is, delay, deny, defend, the 3Ds of insurance, the insurance defense world. So, that really gave me a strong background in that. And, I know those adjusters and I know the actual human beings that work in those companies because I represented those companies. So, we represented a lot of at the firm. It's not big law, but it's a good size, medium sized firm, and they have offices throughout Florida. So we represented a lot of really big clients, a lot of self-insureds like Walmart, Aldi, supermarkets, you name it, restaurants, hotels, condominiums. So I think that really gives us a good, a good perspective on things. Basically, and if you're injured, that's who my clients are. It could be in any situation. We also do workers' compensation. So if someone were to be injured at work, we can also handle that. That's also a bit different because most lawyers are either handle PI, plaintiff's PI, or they do claimants workers' compensation. Very few do both, or very few really do both. They could advertise that they do both, but they may not really know all of the nuances because there are a lot of nuances when you have both an injury at work where you file a claim and a claim against a third party in a personal injury action. So there's a lot involved there. I think that's what gives us a kind of a leg up, just knowing all the different factors and how the interplay between one and the other. As far as types of clients, I have I guess my youngest client is 20 years old and the oldest is 80 years old. So, men, women, young and old, unfortunately, I mean, that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much anybody can be involved in an accident at any time. So, and of course, family members of those who've been, killed as a result of a defective product or car accident or things like that.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. So let me ask you this. What got you into the practice of law in the first place? And what made you decide that you wanted to jump from doing particularly defense side to doing plaintiff side injury?
As far as wanting to be a lawyer, it's not something I always wanted to do. When I was younger, I never really thought about being a lawyer. I don't know that I really knew what a lawyer was or did because, there were no lawyers in my family. I come from a family, I guess, of doctors, pediatricians to be exact. My grandfather was a pediatrician in Cuba. He was kind of like the country doctor. He didn't make a whole lot of money doing what he did, even though he could have, but he treated everybody in that small town. He was from a small town called Los Arabos in Matanzas, Cuba. And so that was what my grandfather did. My grandfather was a very, very intelligent man, graduated from law school, graduated from medical school, I think at the age of 23, became a doctor in Cuba, came to the United States, here to the South Dade or Miami area, became a doctor here in the US, which is a great achievement. Had to learn the language, had to, like a lot of Cuban immigrants down here, had to really start from scratch with nothing. His son, who is my uncle who passed away just last year, my dad's brother was also a doctor and also a pediatrician. And my uncle's daughter, who's my cousin, Mary Jo, she lives in St. Louis, Missouri, she is also a pediatrician. So that kind of, and my father became an engineer, but always wanted to be a physician and never did become one. And when I was little, he would say, you should be a doctor. You're smart, you do well in school, you like to study. You should be a doctor, you should be a doctor. And I didn't think I liked the sight of blood. And the funny story is that, I have an uncle who's also a doctor, internal medicine doctor. He's still alive. He's not my uncle by blood. He's my aunt's husband. We call that tío postizo in Cuban Spanish, like a fake uncle, right? Anyway, my uncle, I remember being in his house like on a weekend, like on a Saturday or maybe even a Sunday in his swimming pool. And he was there in the pool with us. I was a little kid. I must have been maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. And he had a beeper. Anybody is old enough to remember beepers before the age of cell phones? Yep. And that thing would be going off, and he would have it laying next to the pool. And I said, Tío, Uncle, what is that? What's going on? Why does that thing keep going off? Oh, that's, I'm a doctor, so I'm on call, just in case, a patient isn't, I need to rush over to the hospital. And I was thinking, oh no, I don't want to be a doctor. So that was the defining moment for me. I said, I do not want to do this. I always had a sense of justice when I was a little kid. I always thought things were unfair, and I didn't like that. And I thought there must be something you could do about it. And I would tell my parents, that's not fair. Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to listen to the teacher? And my parents would say, well, that's just the way it is. And I said, well, but why? Why is that? Fighting against the authority figures and things like that, little rebellious nature, I guess. So actually for me, it was LA Law. LA Law was a show that was on when I was in high school. And man, I loved that show. And I watched every single episode of it. And I thought the courtroom, obviously it's not the same in real life as it is on TV. I think most people realize that. But as a young person, and in high school, and thinking, wow, I think I want to do that, to be able to change somebody's life, to change the outcome of something, to change a law potentially, just by speaking. And, I was always good at reading and writing and not so much at communicating. I was very, very shy. That was the only thing that I thought, I don't know if I can be a trial attorney because I'm really, really painfully shy. I'm not anymore. But I was all through my whole life till I graduated high school. And when I got to college, I got a little bit out of my shell and started, being a little more social and not being so shy. But I never thought that I could really do that. And when I started doing it, I amazed myself. I thought, wow, I really did do it. Insurance defense to PI, I mean, that was kind of a no-brainer for me. It was just, I'm glad that I had the experience, you know, like I alluded to earlier. I'm glad that I did it because I think I learned so much in that job, more than I had learned, I think, throughout my entire career. To be honest, I really just learned so much about everything, about how insurance works, because I for city of Hialeah self-insured, so, and they have a cap, so it's just very, very different. I didn't know what a reservation of rights letter was. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. I didn't know how they operated. And just, you know, the drudgery at all, the billable hours. I was so lucky my entire career not to have to bill my hours.
Yeah.
Because I always worked areas where you would, you know, it's a flat rate fee.
Yeah.
I was just so incredibly lucky that way. And to have to do that was just so insane. And really a more specific example, I remember there being a case, you know, a lady fell in I think it was a Walmart case. And, you know, little old Cuban lady, could have been my mom, my grandma. You know, I felt so bad for her. She really did fall. She really did hurt her knee. Did she have pre-existing? Yeah, you know, she was old, she had arthritis, she had a couple things, you know, maybe it was just an aggravation. Did they see the water on the floor or whatever it was before? Did they have a chance? Well, maybe not, I don't know. You know, and I thought to myself, all right, so we tried to settle the case. The adjuster said, no, we're going to trial. So we try the case and there's a defense verdict. Okay. And then they poll the jury. And then one jury says, no, it's not my verdict. So, and you know, verdict for her. And I gotta tell you, so happy. I was so happy. I know I've always been like, you know, I represent this client, you know, and the client that I represented has always been somebody that I thought was the good, you know, the one that I should be representing. And this was all just reverse. You know, I thought, I don't know about this. I was happy that won, that she got some money.
Yeah.
So I think that was it. And you know, and I've always liked working with people, you know, not that insurance adjusters aren't people, but you know, just working with an individual, to me, that there was no satisfaction in the job. You got a defense verdict, yay! So
you did your job, and that's that.
Woo! I got a defense verdict. I saved the insurance company, you know, 500 grand or 300 grand or 150 or whatever the final, you know, offer was. Or ooh, you know, I got out on a summary judgment, yay! It fell flat for me. It just
less rewarding.
Yes, a lot less rewarding. Exactly.
And so when you get to work with individuals, you see the difference that you make in their lives, and you're able to help one person at a time make that difference. So I get that. I've always really enjoyed working with and knowing injury attorneys. I know sometimes injury attorneys get a bad rap, you know, ambulance chasers, et cetera. But I think that you guys in general, you fulfill a very important legal niche, and you provide access to law that a lot of people otherwise couldn't get, right? Most people can't afford billable hours for an attorney. I know the average price for an attorney right now is somewhere between $300 and $500 an hour. And I'm sure in a major area like Miami-Dade, it's probably even higher than that. And I've definitely talked to people in some of the major cities, from LA to New York, Chicago, et cetera. And I think the average price is closer to $1,000 to $1,500, depending upon, you know, the facet of law and everything else. But with an injury attorney law, or with injury attorneys, you guys usually work on a contingent fee, so people can call you up without worrying what's going to cost them. They can talk to you without worrying what it's cost them. You'll look over the case and let them know if they have a case. And most attorneys I talk to say, even if they don't have a case, they'll still help them get whatever help they need, because you're in it really to help the individuals. So I've always really appreciated that. So let me ask you, Karen. Obviously, for the last year, we've all been under the pandemic, and of course, the response to the pandemic. And I've talked to attorneys all over the country, and even in Canada, where the word was draconian. I've talked to attorneys in California, where the term was overreach. I've talked to attorneys down in Texas and Florida, and I've had kind of a mixed feeling. So let me ask you this: how has the pandemic and also the response to the pandemic affected you, as well as your practice of law and your clients?
It definitely affected me, the practice, and the clients, all three. Even though here in Florida, we've been more open than in some other states and a little quicker to open up. Even with all of that, I mean, it was a shock, like I'm sure it was to everybody else. It was completely unexpected. Actually, I mean, me personally, it affected me pretty drastically, because even though I started my firm up in, I think it was like the end of June of 2018, I actually was working with my brother, who's a general contractor, and I was his basically his in-house counsel. So I was working there, and I really didn't focus on the practice all that much, just because of time constraints. Also because my brother there, actually.
Kind of
That
figured.
photo, that it was a trial we had. Yeah, well, he was the plaintiff. That's the Miami-Dade County Courthouse. And so, I was working with him. I didn't really focus too much on the trial. I mean, on my practice. I had cases coming in, because luckily I've been practicing now for so long that people know me, and
Yeah.
that's good. I know a lot of attorneys. I know a lot of people in general, and I didn't really have to go into that. And so my brother says, "Hey, the pandemic is here. I think I need to let you go." And I said, "You're firing me?" My own brother. He said, "Yeah, I mean, look, I'll help you out." But my brother's great. My brother is a retired Navy SEAL.
Oh, wow.
My brother, with just a high school diploma, is a very successful general contractor. He does contracts for the U.S. Postal Service, and he actually is one of my best referral sources, because he knows a
He
lot.
knows everybody.
He's a typical Cuban. He's got the gift of gab. He talks everybody. He talks everybody up. Strangers on the street, they all know him.
That's funny.
And so I said, okay, this is going to be a true test of my ability to really do this, like really, really do this on my own, work it up, get clients, go out there, knock on doors. But of course, the knocking on the doors and the getting the clients, that was made not impossible, very, very difficult with this situation. Now things are getting back to normal. People are getting the vaccines, and I meet clients in person now, if they want to. I also do everything digitally, virtually, so I don't, thankfully, with Zoom and all the other technologies and digital signatures, we even have remote notaries now. So it's a little good and a little bad. I think it forced everybody to kind of think about how they were practicing law, and maybe this isn't the best way to go about things.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with and of course the trials were put on standstill. So I mean, I have to say that was maybe one of the biggest things. You're running a contingency based practice. I mean, I have other things that I was doing, some immigration work, some divorces here and there, but that was really the bread and butter. And to have that just go down just overnight was a shock, was really a wake-up call. But I think in the end, a lot of good has come out of this. Trials are going to start back up down here. I have to say, doing these things remotely have been a huge time saver, and allowed me to dedicate my time and resources to other things, because I mean, I'm in Dade. For those listening who don't know the traffic situation down here, it's pretty abysmal. It's not as bad as New York or Atlanta, because I've been there too, but it's pretty bad. And if I had, because we do cases all over. So if I had a hearing up, and I got cases up in Broward, it's only one county away. or if I had to go down to Monroe County, you know, in the Keys, and for a hearing, that was hours of your day wasted.
Yeah.
You know, to drive, to sit there, and you're in a you know, what we call, you know, we call it the cattle call. It's a calendar call, but it's like a cattle call. And,
Yep.
and you know, you got like, what, you got like 30, 40 cases on the docket for a motion hearing.
Yep.
Lawyers fighting about, you know, nonsense, like I'm not, yeah, like, no, you know, I'm not going to give you that, you know, fighting over what they're going to, you know, produce and what they're not going to, just stuff that they could probably figure it out on their own, but you know, they got to waste everybody's time and take it before a judge. So yeah, I you know, now at this point, I guess I'm glad I was able to make it. I saw a lot of businesses close, law firms, restaurants, other local businesses. It's very sad to me. Mm-hmm. It's sad to see that. You know, I go around and I see a lot of places that, like restaurants and stores that I used to go to, that are now closed. So to be able to make it and thrive in that, I guess you can do anything if you survive this.
No, absolutely. And it's been tough for everyone. I think the general experience I've gotten from most attorneys is they do appreciate that it's made certain aspects of their job more efficient. So and it's actually opened up for a number of them. I was talking to a divorce or family law attorney out, and he basically did, I think it was San Diego, I think it was, but he's like, yeah, I see clients all over California now because I could basically just, you know, zoom in almost anywhere and represent them, and it really doesn't require hardly anything from me to do it. So it's opened up his area of practice. Of course, it opens up everyone's area of practice, so it makes things in some ways more competitive, but also like gives you more places where you can compete. So it kind of opens things up for attorneys, which is kind of neat. So so let me ask you this. One of my favorite questions, actually, before I do that, again, I noticed that you have a bachelor's in English as well, so I always like to kind of dig in just a little bit there. Who's your favorite author and why?
That's a loaded question. I mean, I have a lot. I'll say my favorite poet is probably Walt Whitman.
Okay.
Captain, my Captain.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. Yeah, I like all the romantic poets. As far as authors, if you want to go real old school, I'll say William Shakespeare. I'm really into Shakespeare. I don't know, there's just something about his, whether it was him or somebody else, because there's a controversy there. But yeah, and modern day, I'll tip my hat to a fellow lawyer turned very successful writer. You know, his books have been turned into movies, and I'll give a shout out to John Grisham. I think his books are very easy to read, mm-hmm. and I think they're entertaining, and I think they put a cool little spin on you know, a merging of fact and fiction.
Yeah.
Because I do like books like that.
Yeah.
Like James Michener.
I'm always amazed. I'm always amazed that he can make legal drama, because in some ways the legal profession has a lot of dry aspects to it. You're looking at statutes and regulations and laws and everything else. And I think if you were to do that the wrong way, your fiction would be utterly boring. But he's found a knack to really tell these stories in a way that's compelling legal fiction.
Yeah, so. I love him. You know, the first time I picked up The Firm, I thought, wow, this guy, you know, and then I saw the movie, and actually, for a movie, you know, for a book turned into a movie, that movie is actually pretty spot on. It's almost exactly like the book. There's a little bit of I don't want to give that away if nobody's, well, I figure almost everyone has seen it, but if you haven't read the book and seen the movie, there's just a little bit of a twist there in the end, but he's great. Yeah, I like that. I like, and like a James Michener kind of person. You know, I like Agatha Christie novels. I even like J.K. Rowling, you know, you know, I like to read.
You're an eclectic reader.
I do love to read. You know, it's hard when you're a lawyer because you have to read so much, but it's stuff that you don't really necessarily enjoy reading. And then it's hard to find time read for pleasure.
Yep.
But yeah, I that's really the career that I thought I would go into. I thought I was going to be a writer. That's why I majored in English. And so I really, and I consider myself a good writer, but I don't really have that knack for fiction writing. And so I just really respect people who can do that. I think it's an amazing skill to have, just amazing skill.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Well, there's always time in the background. You can always start putting piecing together a story or something. So, well, speaking of stories, one of my favorite questions to always ask is this. Obviously, everybody, we have successes, we have failures, and you can tell a lot about somebody by the way that they handle success and, of course, the way they handle failure. And, of course, failure is only a failure if you just take it as a failure, walk away, and don't learn anything from it. But if you learn from a failure, if you grow from a failure, it's actually kind of a slow burn win. So, Karen, can you tell our listeners about a time in your practice of law where you experienced something like a failure, but what you learned from it and how you carry that forward to help your current and future clients? And you actually kind of gave us an interesting story earlier when the defense or the plaintiff side got the verdict when you were on the defense side or whatever. But so maybe I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth. That actually was like, man, that would fit well for that later. But so tell us anyway. I'll let you answer the question.
That was a failure, I mean, me, as far as not so much a case that I've had, but of the biggest failure, I guess I could say, just in my career, this is actually my second time around opening my practice, and the first time I did it was, I had worked for an immigration attorney. He was a solo practitioner, and he had 2 offices, one in Miami, one in Pompano up north. And I was doing all his cases. I was the only attorney there, and I thought, well, I could do this. Because I always thought I need to get some practice before I go out on my own. This is crazy. These people that graduate law school and they set up, they put out their own shingle. They got to be nuts. You have to have some knowledge. And I'm not saying that you don't. I guess the point is, I had read that I think it's a Jay Foonberg book. I think his name is Jay Foonberg. He's a guy that just, like, right out of law school, just opened up his own practice, and it was a very inspirational book. Like, you can do it. Like,
yeah,
no, you don't need to be working for somebody for 5 or 10 or even two years. You can do it. And I thought, and when I was working for this attorney, I thought I can do this because he was just never there. He was really never there.
You were already doing it, just not realizing it.
Yeah, he threw me into an asylum trial. They call them individual hearings, but it's basically a merits hearing or a trial, a bench trial, because the judge is the one who decides it. But like, my second day on the job, and I thought, this isn't right. I don't know anything about asylum. I didn't even take that immigration course in law school. See, darn, I should have at least taken that course. But yeah, so that was a failure for me because I was unable to sustain it, because I started out, it was great. I didn't have to take out any loans. Things were very different. We're talking about 1996. There was no internet. I mean, there was internet, but
it sounded like
yeah, AOL, and then get off the phone. Who's on the phone? I'm trying to get on the internet. Yeah, so it's not like attorneys had websites or did any digital or social media advertising. So it was kind of like, but I started on my own, and it was word of mouth, and I was doing okay. I didn't have to take out a loan. But then I got pregnant, and I also fractured my ankle, but that's a different story. But I didn't have a backup, so I thought, wow, I didn't have a backup because I was just starting out, basically. I mean, I graduated in 96. I worked for him and I opened the practice in like June of 98. So, I mean, and I thought, well, okay, I tried, I failed. And I thought, that's it. I don't think I'm ever going to do this again. And here I am again. So to me, that would be my biggest personal / career failure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had many others along the way. Gotcha. Every time I lose a case, I feel like it's a huge failure. we had a case with my brother. We lost that case. You know, I'll take part of the blame for that, I guess. You know, I wasn't first chair. I think I was like second or maybe even third chair on that. But one particular thing that for some reason it was very early on, and it to this day bothers me, is a case that I had when I was doing immigration work, and that first attorney that I worked for. And I to make a very long one short, and not get into too many of the nitty-gritty details. It was two brothers, two Cuban brothers, both accused of smuggling, not drugs, but people into the U.S., which is a federal offense punishable by, I want to say, maybe 20 years or so in jail. And so there's a criminal component to that, but there's also an immigration component to that. So they were in the immigration side of it. You know, they're both at Chrome, which is our main detention center down here, for lack of a better word, in you know, undocumented immigrants. And so it was him and his brother. One of the guys actually had his green card or his residency. The other one did not. The other one had a parole, which is usually what they give to Cubans. They don't anymore. It's been a big change, but you know, and they were both accused of smuggling. And I didn't think the government had a very good case. I didn't think they had a whole lot of proof. You know, they had this boat that they were transporting people on. They were collecting, you know, 20, 30 grand a head for these trips. This happens a lot down here. People are probably, who might not be from down here, probably thinking, oh my God, you know, but it's actually kind of a common thing in Miami. People pay to have their relatives transported on these boats from Cuba and other places as well. But I lost that case because, and I feel as though the government really went up me on that, you know, the government attorney, because there was this one witness, and the witness says, you know, the client tells me, one of the brothers says, oh yeah. Because I said, look, you got to tell me the truth. I'm your lawyer. I'm not the judge. I'm not the governor. I'm not going to put you away. I'm not, you know, you got to tell me the truth because that's the best way that I can represent you.
Yeah.
You know, you got to tell me. You got to tell me everything. I don't want any surprises. This lady, that supposedly there were communications between them, you know, cell phone communications and whatnot, where this is the lady that was, you know, paying him and the brother to transport the relatives. And he says, no, I didn't do it. I'm innocent. That wasn't me. No, you can talk to so-and-so, that lady. She'll exonerate me. You know, yeah. Go ahead. Put her on the stand. Call her up. Because the government was having a hard time locating her and getting her to be a witness. And me, I mean, you know, I'm a kid. I'm like 2 years out of law school. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm pretty decent at this whole immigration stuff, but what do I know? You know, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to call. I call that lady tanked that case for us. And I know for a fact that if it weren't for that testimony, we would have won, because she was kind of like the link that tied all the evidence together, you know, because they really didn't have any evidence short of that. They really didn't. I don't know why that one really sticks with me to this day. I guess the lesson here is don't always trust your client. Do your own independent research. I try to believe them as much as I can, you know. Right. But I don't know. That one hurts.
Something to be said for doing some due diligence and just double checking things. So that makes a lot of sense. Well, let's put the shoe on the other foot then. Obviously, I'm sure you've had some successes. I'm sure you've had some cases that you're very proud of. Can you tell our listeners about a case or so that you're particularly proud of, where maybe you got a great judgment for a client who was really injured? Maybe everyone thought it was a losing case. You took it and you won. Maybe, you know, just you felt you made a difference in someone's life in a really impactful way. But tell our listeners about, you know, something in your practice of law that you're really proud of, when your proudest moments.
Yeah, actually, you know, my proudest moments and my best, I guess, most satisfying victories actually had nothing to do with personal injury or anything else related to that. It was actually when I worked for the Department of Children and Families, because I was there are different aspects to that. So there's dependency, and then there's termination of parental rights. And basically, when a child, when a parent is the standard is abuse, abandonment, or neglect. So if the child is found dependent upon the state, then we move to the phase that's called termination of parental rights. And I mean, I had more than one, but I had several where you know, the child was just a child. Actually, I do remember now. It was a family. It was, yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. And I had a lot of those cases because there was a group of us that only did TPR because I had that litigation background. So they said, oh, you're going to do the termination of parental rights trials. And I said, okay. These are bench trials usually with senior judges. And you put on your case. And it was a family of these 3 kids, so cute, 3 little blonde-haired siblings that were physically abused by the parents. Physical abuse to the point of broken bones.
Gosh.
Yeah, they would beat those kids with whatever they could find. And yeah, and the judge terminated our parental rights. Now, or terminated the parents' parental rights. Now, the good and the interesting thing about this is that it you know, sometimes when you're granted TPR, you would think that that's like such a great victory, and it is, because you're taking the child away from that situation.
Yeah.
But you don't, because of the timing of it all, because, you know, the parents either goes to what they call an expedited termination of parental rights. That's when they've done something really egregious. Like I had a kid, the mom, the 3-year-old, the lady had about 5 children, but maybe more, 6 children. The lady took an iron, like an iron you would iron clothes with, and stuck it on the kid's chest.
Gosh.
And you could see the holes from the iron
from the steam. Yeah.
And that was considered so egregious that it moved straight to an expedited TPR. No parenting plan for them. Usually it's a 12-month parenting plan. Yeah. Where they try to get their act back together and try to, you know, a lot of these people, it's one of 2 things for the most part. You know, they're either on drugs, they're either addicted to drugs, or they have a mental health problem, which is, you know, a very sad situation. But in that particular case with those 3 siblings, because sometimes you get the TPR, but there's nobody to actually adopt them. Yeah. So then now they're in this limbo, and now they're in foster care, you know? But in that particular case, everything lined up so perfectly, like it was just like it meant to be. And they were actually adopted by their relative. I think it was an aunt and uncle. And that was just, you know, there's no greater feeling, I don't think, than that, because you know, to me, working, that's always been I guess a soft spot for me. Children and older people, you know, individuals, you know, the elderly. I have a real soft spot for the two ends of the spectrum as far as that goes, you know, and animals too, but but you know, people that are helpless, you know, they can't do anything for themselves. They need, those are the people that need us the most. Yeah. And to help those kids like that was just, that's an unequaled feeling, I think. Yeah,
you really were a hero in that moment, in a sense. That's great. Well, gosh, it's a very impactful story, and it's kind of hard to follow up on that. Well, I'll tell you what, here in a minute, we'll lighten things up. We're going to ask a couple of fun questions. So okay. just to prep you for them, I'm going to ask you, it's my listeners all know these questions already, but this is my magic pen. It is a Papermate Inkjoy pen. I'm not sponsored by Papermate or Inkjoy, and I don't think the regular pens work this way, but this particular pen is magical. And when I give you this pen, you are allowed to take it and you can edit laws. You can strike laws from the books. You can edit laws and add things in there that need to be in there. You can add a completely new law that's never been written before. So in a minute, I'm going to give you my pen, Karen. I'm going to ask you what law or laws you would change that affect you or your clients. They can be big laws, egregious human rights violations. They can be little laws, like the form you have to fill out in triplicate 8 times a week. You know, whatever it happens to be. I'm curious what laws you would change. So think about that for just a minute. We're also going to travel back in time, meet a young Karen, and give her some advice other than, of course, buy a lot of Bitcoin. Trust me, it's going to go up. So think about that as well. While you do that, though, we're going to jump back over really quickly and a reminder, listeners, though the website is down currently, Karen does have a website. It is Callejo Law, injurylawyers.com. Link in the description. We'll also have a link to your Google page, which is what we're looking at right here. And you have a lot of great reviews. I would definitely encourage people to come here and read the reviews. A lot of the reviews are in English. A lot of them are in Spanish because you are, if I'm not mistaken, bilingual. Is that correct?
Sí, señor. I am a proud Cuban American, fully bilingual.
I kind of figured with the Cuban American, I was like, oh, you definitely know Spanish, and then seeing all this stuff. So, if you are a native Spanish speaker, definitely Karen is somebody who can represent you as well. Lots of great reviews. She's got a 5.0 on Google with 48 reviews. Solid, not a single 4, 3, 2, or 1. I've got a handful of lawyers I've worked with that hit those numbers, and those are very, very impressive numbers. So clearly, you know what you're doing. You're doing a great job. So great work on all that. I'm going to really quickly jump over and read from our second sponsor today. Our second sponsor is Rocket SEO from hundreds of customers. Are you a business owner who knows that being on page 1 of Google is important, but you're afraid to work with a search engine optimization company because you know that SEO is both expensive and slow? Well, it doesn't have to be. Not anymore. Rocket SEO from hundreds of customers forces you to page 1 of Google safely and legally through the power of the news media. Rocket SEO utilizes national news media campaigns across the gamut of news sites that simply rank instantly. With Rocket SEO, you can boost your website's ranking in Google in 1 week or less with a simple system that leverages the power of major media companies, news sites and network affiliates of ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, as well as local news sources from the Boston Herald to the Sacramento Bee and all stops in between to put you on page 1 of Google in under a week, oftentimes 2 or 3 times on page 1 of Google for dozens of different keywords. To learn more, simply email press@hundredsofcustomers.com or visit hundredsofcustomers.com/rocket. That's hundredsofcustomers.com/rocket. All right. So Karen, here's the magical pen. And with this pen, again, you can strike laws from the books. You can edit them. You can add them, whatever you think needs to happen. What are you going to change when I give you the magic pen?
So here in Florida, something that affects us all and has affected many, many clients, potential clients, is the fact that you are not required to, at least right now, it is a proposed law. Okay, so it could happen. My wish could come true, hopefully. You're not required to carry bodily injury insurance. So when, a lot of people will call me and say, I got into a car accident. I wasn't at fault. I was injured. Can you help me? I need to sue the at fault party or parties. And then you do a request and you find out that they have no BI or no bodily injury insurance. And I have to say, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. Now, if you're not necessarily out of luck, you could have what they call uninsured motorist. But a lot of people don't have uninsured motorist. I don't know why. It's not that expensive. I think the insurance companies may kind of not want you to get it. So I guess that's a PSA. Get uninsured motorist. Yes, and please, I hope the legislature just changes that rule because it's insane. And I'm telling you, Florida is just a madhouse here. I mean, we have so many accidents, people driving around with no insurance. Yeah, that's something I definitely needs to change. It's going to impact a lot of people.
Gotcha. You're not the first attorney I've heard mention that particular law. So it's interesting. I thought it might even be on DeSantis's desk and ready to sign potentially, but I don't know. I'm not a native Floridian, so
I think it is. Yes, that's the latest that I've heard is that it's awaiting. I don't know that it's passed both houses, but yeah, I think it's gonna. Fingers crossed. I think it might pass.
Here's hoping. Yeah. All right. So if we were to go back in time and you were to meet a younger version of yourself and you can give yourself a piece of advice as you're going into the practice of law, what advice would you give yourself?
I think my advice to myself would be to just go for it. Don't be afraid. Don't let people tell you what you can and can't do. Don't limit yourself. Try to lose some of that fear. fear of going into a courtroom, fear of talking to opposing counsel, fear of, getting yourself out there, and talking and letting people know who you are and what you're about. Because, you're a smart kid, you can do it. If other, I always have this philosophy, if other people can do it, I can too. So, what's there? I think we are our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
And
we're definitely our worst critics most of the time.
Definitely our worst critics. And people just kind of, they limit themselves. I'm sure there's a quote out there to some effect, but I agree with that. I think you limit yourself. It's all, if your mind can think it, I think you can create that reality for yourself. So that
if you believe, you can achieve, as they say.
Exactly.
Well, very good.
And yeah, I guess that's it. Oh, and maybe don't cram for the bar exam.
Because don't worry, you're going to do fine.
No, because I crammed a little for that bar exam, and I ended up having to go to the hospital, not the hospital, but to the doctor, because it was like a couple days before the exam, and I was laying, I guess, in the same position for so long and just studying that bar prep book that I woke. It's funny. I had a dream that I was in a terrible amount of pain, and I thought that I had like a kidney infection or something, because the pain was like in the back area, like where the kidneys are at. And when I woke up, I had that pain, and it turns out it was a muscle strain from. I didn't know a muscle strain could be that painful. So yeah, take your time to study for the bar exam. That's the other piece of advice I would give myself.
That's good advice in general. Whenever you cram, you lose 90% of whatever you cram in there. So learn it slowly. Exactly. I was a big fan of flashcards and putting them in my pocket, and I'd stand in line somewhere, take them out, and learn wherever I needed to learn on the go. That's how I learned learned Greek that way, amongst other things. And I studied for the GRE and whatnot, just with flashcards in my pocket that I'd make from 3 or 5 index cards. So, well, anyway, so Karen, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You've already been very generous, and I've really enjoyed our conversation. I think I've learned a lot, and you seem like a great person. Let me ask you one more time. I do like to let my guests have the final words. So is there any parting words or parting thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I would like to say that, you can call me. I'm not the typical lawyer. I think lawyers get a bad rap. I'm very accessible. All my clients have my cell phone number. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions. And if sometimes clients are afraid or hesitant. If you have been injured, know that you do have rights, and know that you do need to seek legal counsel, because the insurance companies have their lawyers. Trust me.
Yeah. And
if you've been in an accident, especially like, let's say, you were in an accident against a big wheeler, an 18-wheeler, a truck. They the moment that happens, they got their investigators out there. Yep. They got their adjusters, and they're on it. And they're pulling that black box, and they're getting their info, and they're doing what they need to do. So you need to do what you do. You need to do what you need to do, and have somebody as an advocate for you. Don't feel like just because you're, it's a David and Goliath kind of situation that you don't, that you won't be able to stand up to those big insurance companies or those big corporations, because you can. You do have rights, and you're entitled to just as good a representation as they are. And that's my job. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. And that's, again, one of the reasons I really love personal injury attorneys, because you are playing field levelers in a real sense. You make the law accessible to people who otherwise wouldn't have access to the law. So that's awesome. Well, this has
Absolutely.
been the Attorney Post. I've been talking with attorney Karen Callejo of Callejo Law. Her website is CallejoLawInjuryLawyers.com. Again, it's coming soon. It'll be online. Hopefully by the time you guys see this podcast, it'll be online. We'll have links in the description below to that, as well as to her Google My Business listing, where you can actually reach out. The number there is 786-254-1692. So do feel free to reach out to Karen if you're anywhere in the Florida area and you've been injured. She seems like a great resource. This has been the Attorney Post. Again, I've been chatting with Karen today. As always, though, we do talk about legal issues on this podcast. This podcast does not constitute legal advice. And if you have a legal issue, you should always seek the advice of a competent attorney in your area who focuses on the matter of law that you need help with. Obviously, if you're in the Miami area or in the Florida area in general, you've been injured, it sounds like Karen would be a great resource for you. So do please feel free to reach out to her. As always, this is the Attorney Post. I've been your host, Justin West. You can find us online at theattorneypost.com. You can also find us, of course, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We are on YouTube, as well as Google Podcast, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, etc. We always do appreciate a like, a subscribe, a share, and a comment. And until next time, remember, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. Take care, guys, and bye-bye.
Take care.